Do you want
Um,
me to, quick question, do you want me
yes,
to keep camera on, keep mic on, shut it off? What would
I
you like?
prefer to have you on because like it's, you know, I'm talking to someone,
Interactive? Yeah,
but as like comfortable as you are, you know, I don't want to put
that's
pressure,
okay.
but you're comfortable.
I'm here to be involved, so
Okay, awesome.
yeah.
And so yeah, so welcome. And as I say, I have at least I mean, like I have a lot of girls who signed up for the girl part,
Oh,
and
it's gonna be fun.
it's gonna be fun. And I'm not surprised. There's always more girls than guys because
Yeah.
girls are naturally social and naturally want to do that stuff. And very few guys have the guts or the patience or the discipline really to you know, learn more about it. And the few that does are going to be the lucky wives and a happy husband usually, because it's literally what changes everything. And we're going to speak about statistics and stuff like that. So we're going to cover a lot of things. So again, it's 10 weeks. And you know, if guys wants to learn more, we can do more. There's definitely more than 10 weeks necessary. But you know, I was reading in some professional, you know, things on marriage and rabbi and counseling and whatever they say there, that from a famous Lisa Aiken, who wrote Guide to the Romantically Perplexed, which is a great book. So she speaks about before marriage, and she says 10 hours seems to be the bare minimum, not including detailed Tahat HaMishpacha instruction. So that just for a basic introduction about the world, you know, and about I mean, the world of marriage and women and all that, because it's unfortunately not taught. We're not prepared, and we need to. It needs to be addressed. So, Rabbi, what's his name? Rabbi Abraham Twersky. So he speaks about it a lot and says that. I thought that saved the page. Let me see. Right, the thing is here. Oh, yeah. So yeah, I guess there's too many. I was looking in too many places as I was prepared, but yeah. So he explains the phenomena in America and says that I posted the video also, that most individuals are not prepared for marriage, and therefore we end up in a system where there's a lot of problem in dating, problem in communication. Most of us come from broken families. Even the families that are broken, the relationship between the parents nowadays are not so healthy or not good role model. And in many ways, you know, and that's a little bit my perspective, but we are at the end of time, right? We're coming close to the end from a Jewish perspective. So Moshiach is going to come. And there's a big misconception. People think like, oh, please, Moshiach come so he can fix everything and there'll be no more suffering in the world. Well, yes, ultimately that's what's going to happen, but it's not going to be a magical thing that all of a sudden everybody is nice, everybody is happy. No. What Moshiach is going to do, he's going to show us the truth about who am I, how arrogant am I, how greedy, how selfish, how now a lot of it is because we have been hurt, right? So but he's going to show how the extent to which you have been hurt, and why you transform yourself into a person like that, right? Like he's going to be Moshiach Kenegdo. You have the Ezer Kenegdo, right? So Moshiach is going to be the perfect Ezer Kenegdo. He's going to tell you, well, you need to work on that and that. So we're still going to have to do the work. the transformation is going to be much more clear, much faster, because now we understand, oh, this is why I'm like that and all that. But we're going to have to do the work, and we have to look in the mirror and face all our own demons, all our own insecurities. We're going to have to be vulnerable. And this is how the world is going to be clean. It's otherwise it's not going to happen. So we have now kind of the chance to do it on our own, so that when Moshiach comes, we're not going to be humiliated that, you know, I ignored myself my whole life. And now, oh, wow, a lot of people don't want to face themselves. I tell everyone, everybody should go to therapy. No, it doesn't have, you don't have to be sick to go to therapy. You don't have to be abused to go to therapy. You don't have to be crazy. No, basic, simple therapy, you know, or a social worker or whatever, a rabbi who knows, you know, about life and the mind and the emotions, just to learn about yourself, about, okay, how do I look at life? You know, am I happy? Like, why am I sad? Or because there's nothing better than to know who I am if I want to get married to someone else, right? That's part of the challenge. Is the more I know myself, the more I know my flaws and my qualities, the more I will know if I'm a good fit for the other person, and the more I be able to accept when the person, the other criticize me, right? When she criticizes me, and she's going to be a real mirror, Ezer Kenegdo, and she's going to know all my flaws. Can I live with myself, right? That's basically what it's saying. So overall, a small introduction to say that one should not be afraid to, that these classes is trying to do all that together, you know, to start thinking about myself, to push the individual to, I want to discuss it, to find your mission, to see the areas we struggle, and to be a little bit more ready than most people for marriage, and like I would like to, you know, show off in a way. It's probably the most important classes, more than Gemara, more than Chumash, more than anything, because if you have a happy marriage, you're gonna have a happy Torah. You're gonna have a happy everything, and, you know, happy wife, happy life. It's not just a saying. It's just not a cute thing. It's the main thing. It's the main thing. And you know, even, you know, I grew up just with my mother, and, you know, if my mother was happy, I was happy. If my mother wasn't happy, I was not sad. Or, you know, when I was with my father, same thing. It's so what we create as parents, you know, as a couple, is going to reflect on the children, and the children are going to be dependent on our own moods of ourselves. So it's all connected like that. So the more I'm aware of all that, the more I think about it, the more I'm prepared, the more I have a chance to live a happy life, and which is all what Hashem wants. You know, it's all started, and we'll speak about it. I don't know if I speak about it today, not pretty. So you don't have time. There's so many things, but the story of Gan Eden, which starts with a man and a woman, you know, and how something happened there that it didn't end up well, and that's why we're here today. So it all started with a man and a woman. Okay. And the snake. I forgot the snake. We'll have to see what the snake is in the situation. Okay, so I wanted to go through a few statistics, because it gives us more perspective on the reality of things, and it gives us more understanding of the different problems, or the different pitfalls, on the thing that we have to be careful about, and it'll push us to be more focused and aware. So in America, right, this is about, so that's not about from people, it's general, but by the from people is very close to that. It's not, we don't have such good numbers. There's about 50% of all marriage in the United States will end in divorce or separation, okay, which is a huge number. Researchers estimate that 41% of all first marriage end in divorce, 60% of second marriage in divorce, and 73% of all third marriages end in divorce. Meaning, once you divorce, it's much harder because you have kind of put in your DNA, and sometimes divorce is necessary. But once you have done it, it's much easier to. I've broke the chain once. I can do it again, so to speak. So it becomes less of a stigma, so to speak, or becomes easier. So it's really important to be aware that once it's done, so one should try to do everything in the first relationship to not break the relationship and not to, so that one stays stronger. So who is getting divorced? So it's interesting because there's not one thing, obviously, that goes divorced. Every case is different, but there are. The reason I want to put that is really to put in our mind the different aspects of what makes a marriage strong, or and what can affect the marriage, so that we are aware of all those things. But so the average age of when people get divorced actually is around 30 years old, which means they have lived already quite a while together, and then somehow they get divorced. But the highest rate of divorce is between 50 and 60, which is scary, because you have lived for so many years together, and 50, 60, that's when the kids start leaving the home, and it's like, oh, we don't have kids to raise anymore. What are we gonna do, right? So you're stuck with the other. If you're not happy with the other, then yeah, it's not gonna be well. So wives are the ones who most often fight for divorce, right? Which means that there's a higher percentage of complaint from the wife side about how they're treated by their husband. Now there are based on the professions. They made the thing based on the professions. Based on the profession you have, the highest rates of divorce. Okay, again, I'm speaking about non-Jewish, Jews, dancers, bartenders, massage therapists, gaming cage workers, gaming service workers. Okay, so that even a type of job is gonna give you have to be careful, because some jobs you might not be home always. Some job you might be, and that will affect the relationship. You have to know when you choose a job, and there's halacha even that when you choose a new job that once you were with your wife and you decide to take a new job, or you get a promotion and you need to work more hours, you need to ask your spouse, your wife, if it's okay. Because the time that you take away from her by being at work, it's her time. It's connected to the laws of Ona. So Onata means time. So then the lowest profession with the profession with the lowest divorce rates is farmers, podiatrists, clergy, optometrists, agricultural engineers. Okay, so it's just interesting to know that counts. Now, obviously, the people who have less than $20,000 a year, right? Baby boomers and people who are religious, and it says here also, as well as African American, are the one who are, and not only that, your political party, liberal on social and political matters, those are the strongest rate of divorce. So even if if you are more of a Democrat, you're more chance. If you're for Biden, you're more chance to divorce than if you're for Trump. It's interesting. I'm sure nowadays we saw how there were a lot of debates, and I know marriage broke because of that, unfortunately. But then the population with the lowest rate of divorce are people who are religious. I mean, here it says Catholics, but religious in general, adults who make more than 75,000 annually, Asians, and those who deem themselves conservative on social and political matters. So we see that those things matter, and there's a few more things. Okay, so now he's going to speak about what's the main thing that make people divorce. Okay, although it's more statistic. Okay, it's very important because it's going to give us all the red flags, all the things, all the pitfalls that we need to look at so that we don't we know how to create the balance, and that when we date or when we decide what we're going to do in life, we can measure our relationship and our commitment with the other along with all this in mind. So these are the main reasons for divorce. The highest is lack of commitment. That's 73%. Lack of commitment. And I mean, I had from the people I coached for dating, that was a big one very often. And usually it's the guys, not always, but usually it's the guys who are, and it's normal. We'll learn about it. The power, the male energy, the male power doesn't want to be stuck in one thing. Men, right, want to be free, so to speak. I want to be able to go anywhere, to be with any woman, to do. That's, it's the snake that comes to us. Like don't get stuck. Once you're with one person, you're stuck. So you have a feeling of being limited. So the lack of commitment is, although it can be scary, obviously, just that's it forever in Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba. So like, yeah, it's a huge step, a huge commitment. I remember the time when I had to propose to my wife. The first time that I was thinking I'm going to do it, I couldn't speak. I was like, that meaning my whole life at that moment, what I'm going to say, do you want to marry me? That's it. It's forever. There's no way back. So I felt the rush of adrenaline, dopamine. I don't know what came into my head and my heart. And I was like, wow, that's so powerful. I'm not ready to say it. I felt the impact it would have. So only the second time, when I had, okay, that's it. You got to jam. You got to say it. You got to take risk in life, right? and as long as you don't just take a risk blindfolded. Obviously we don't do that, but with enough preparation, enough thought before it, then that's it. You gotta do it. Now sometimes people go too fast in it. They love, butterfly, and that's not necessarily the best. One should feel the level of responsibility that entails. So number one is lack of commitment. Number two, argue too much. If you argue too much, and that's one of the things that we will discuss, that how to manage an argument, how do you fight in a loving way? Because there has to be fight, there have to be disagreement. But the problem is the way people argue, they gaslight, or they fight dirty, or it's mean. It's not nice. So that usually comes when we have been hurt, all that. But so we have to learn to know when to argue, when not, and how to argue properly. Then number three, infidelity. Okay, I can't even pronounce it. That's a good thing. So being unfaithful, that's again, that's not by Jews, but that happens usually as a consequence of not feeling loved by the other. When you don't feel love, the emotional connection, then you're going to look for it somewhere else. And we're going to see that's basically what happened in Gan Eden with Chava, who was just with Adam 5 minutes before. And Adam is the Midrash, he was sleeping and she was looking for someone to talk to. Oh, a nice snake. Mr. Sneaky comes, and he was able to, he started talking to her. Someone talks to me. So she, someone is interested in me. So that's important. Marriage too young, and by the way, in Judaism we have all those fences, yichud, shomer negia, all that stuff is to prevent that. That's why we have, sometimes we think of, oh, God wants me to do this, and all those laws are so strict. Well, all those things that are happening in the world that are really destructive, we are immune from it because we have kept some of those laws. It helps us have stronger boundaries and not fall into the trap. Then it says married too young. Well, I think that's because there's a lack of preparation. But yeah, sometimes we marry too young. That's too young, I think, means not prepared, because that by non-Jews, those are the reasons given, that the people who got divorced, they gave those reasons. I don't think it's a good reason. I think it's just a lack of preparation and experience. Then unrealistic expectations. That's very true. I marry you, but you promise me that you'll never smoke again, or you'll never drink again, or for some people it's very strong, or you promise me that we'll have our own house in the Bahamas, or whatever it is that, or you'll never, raise your voice anymore. So like, you have to be realistic, and you cannot marry someone on conditions. You have to be able to love them as they are now. If you can't love them as they are now, it's going to be unrealistic expectation. Lack of equality in the relationship. So that's a big thing. The understanding that marriage is not a competition. It's not who is the boss. It's not who has the bigger role or who is better than the other. So that's an important thing that we'll discuss. Some men feel very man, and the woman is like this, and the man is like that. So that's one of the things we'll learn about what's the role of each one. 41% lack of preparation of marriage. So here we are. We already take away the 41% by being here. And finally, 25% is domestic violence or abuse. So actually in the, where's the Jewish one? Oh boy. Looking for the Jewish. Yeah, it was here. Yeah. Too many things. Okay, so no, because I remember that from the Jewish source, it's probably at the end, I can find it. It's too many things. But from a Jewish perspective, that was one of the top 3, I think. Abuse and divorce in the Jewish community, something that was kind of taboo in the past. Now, Baruch Hashem, it's being more open, and a lot of people don't know that they're being abused, or even the abusers, sometimes they don't know that they're being abusive, even emotional abuse, or that can be abuse. So one has to know that it's is someone, no, it's a woman coming in. I think that's for after, probably. Okay, so continuing, the age matters. As I said, mostly between 40 and 50 is the bigger problem. If you or your partner have been married before, that's also create a strong percentage, as we said. religion and divorce. So someone who is religious, like we say, has more chance. So we are, connected to our Judaism. So it helps us to have stronger values, and we value marriage. And that's an important thing, the difference between a secular and religious marriage. As a religious marriage, we know, for example, that there's no coincidence, and that God sends us people to potential matches. Now, obviously, we have our free choice to decide who we're supposed to be with, but sometimes we can miss a match or give up on the match because we are not ready, or well, I forgot if it's the Gemara. I think it's the Gemara. It says that how you're gonna get who you're gonna get is gonna be based. No, it's not the Gemara. But the Arizal speaks about it, but it's in I think okay, I have the book, but I forgot the exact source. He says that based on your deeds, it's based on your deeds. If you have good deeds, you're gonna have a good woman. If you have bad deeds, you're gonna have a bad woman. So you kind of get what you deserve, so to speak. Now it doesn't mean you have to be perfect, because nobody is perfect. But which direction you go to, are you trying to become a better person, and you're working on yourself, then you're gonna get the person most fitted for you. So we have that concept as a Jew in Judaism, that the person that is sent to me is it's not by coincidence, and therefore I have to take the relationship, the dating, or whoever I marry seriously, because it's not just I made a mistake. No, sometimes marriage are hard, but it's not a mistake. It's because you have a lot to work on. That's all. Okay, and then so it says political affiliation. We said already. Cohabitation. If you live with your partner before you got married, 60% of cohabiting couples will eventually marry. However, living together prior to marriage can increase the chance of getting divorced by as much as 40%. So we see that, people say, oh yeah, it's better to know the person before. No, it's not necessarily better. Sometimes you want to date longer, but actually living with someone it's not always true, right? But still, it increases the potential for divorce, because you actually, why? I'm not sure exactly why, but probably because you have been I don't know. No, I'm curious, because if you live with someone for a while, so you kind of know already who they are. So then you decide to get married. I guess because you don't see, since you have been living together for a while. Okay, I think that's the answer. You live with someone for a while, so you live already as if you're married. Now you decide to be married. Okay, so before I was married, I was not married. Now I'm married. What's the difference? It's just a paper. So okay, we're not for each other anymore. We don't like each other anymore, so you get divorced. So it makes sense, because it's not it shows that the marriage in itself doesn't have much value, since if you live like 5-10 years together without the marriage, then obviously that means it was a nice thing. You wanted a party, you wanted to make it official or whatever. So that makes sense. Now, where you met. Okay, if you meet at a bar or you meet, in at a chasna, is different. So you have more chance that if you meet someone at a bar, that is the type of girl or type of guy that, might not be best for you. Then the sexual history. Obviously, there's more chance if someone has been sexually active before marriage. It is more chance also to get divorced, because sometimes it's trauma, or sometimes it's just losing how to say, one doesn't look at one has been already disconnected so many times from true intimacy that one becomes less sensitive, especially if it's a woman, less by men, but especially with women, but less connected to people, because that intimacy was broken and shared so many times that it can make us weaker in our commitment to one person intimacy. Then where you live, there's states where you have 5% more chance to get divorced than others. It doesn't say New York or New Jersey, so we're good. But the idea is that it shows you already as Jews where the community where you choose to live with your spouse. I know, because I dealt with couples like that. They wanted to get divorced because of where they live, because of sometimes the pressure of the community, sometimes because the community itself was in a place that there was too far from, they was not united, so the wife didn't have friends, or the guy didn't have friends, he was bored. And so the place where you live matters. So it's not a simple thing. We have to consider that aspect of marriage. So that's interesting. Now this is from a non-Jewish statistic tour. It says the risk of divorce was said to be almost double, 97% higher, when the mother went out to work, but her husband made a minimal contribution to housework and childcare. Right? So from the Jewish perspective, yeah, like in the old days, the good old times. Well, we know today most men and women need to go out to work, especially if they live, in nice communities like we live here in New York. It's not enough to have just one breadwinner, and therefore we need two people who work and to make money. But sometimes we're not giving it enough, thought in terms of, okay, if we both work full time, that means when you come home, especially when the kids are small, they're not gonna have a mother home. You're gonna have the nanny or the cleaning lady or whatever, and that's no idea for the kids. The Jewish home were strong, and the values of the parents will go into the kids more if the mother is more present at home. It matters for the kids. I've seen with my own kids, when my wife was not here, when they came back from school, they didn't like it. It didn't feel safe. It didn't feel secure. You come home to empty box, empty house. So it has, I think that's why the 97% higher, because it created then a difference of, first of all, a challenge for the husband, that we're going to speak about it in the future, about when we make money, but it's the husband say, okay, she's working, then she doesn't need me she doesn't need to work. Now she's making more money than me, then what's my role as a man? Right? That's the type of thing that men start thinking. With a lot of men don't want to marry someone who makes more. I've spoken to individuals who told me that. Sometimes it was the woman saying that, but the guys, like, if she earns more than me, I won't get married to her, because then she's a higher position, and a guy needs to feel that's the male power energy that we'll discuss also. But it's really connected to that. And so the fact that in Judaism we encourage the woman to be as much home as possible, especially from the time she's a mother, it's because of that. It's connected to that. Look at that. That's in 2011, but I think it's very important for our generation. In 2011, Facebook was cited as the major contributor to 1/3 of divorce petitions examined on one by one of the UK studies. So social media can be a huge thing. And even just one thing on Facebook, we nowadays probably Instagram, TikTok. And a study in the University of Rochester, researchers say that watching romantic movies and having a conversation about it helps in lowering the divorce rate. Watch romantic movies. Okay, that's, you know, if obviously there's not good connection with the emotional connection, but it enables us to reawaken sometimes certain feelings of love. Nowadays, most people watch movies. So, but if they watch more angry movie or war movie or horror movie, you know, watch a horror movie and go sleep is like, you're probably not gonna have intimacy after a horror movie, unless she's so scared that she needs comfort. You know, like, well, I'm scared. I'll protect you. Don't worry. Okay, that could be used. You have to be creative sometimes. But now on the side, this is obviously not a lot of from people who don't watch movies, but for those who do, that, you know, you have to be. It can be a good tool. And obviously, pornography addiction is one. It has a strong factor. 56% of divorce, according to a recent study, meaning it could increase. So that's very important for men to know that, because literally 99% of men have watched porn. Obviously not. I don't know the percent of people who have been addicted, but a lot of men think that once I've watched porn, once I'm married, I won't have that problem. And that's just not true. Because the dopamine, the way we get used to things, the things that we get attracted when we watch something, then that's the thing that we want again to feel excited. So now, the porn world is very different, especially if one is a religious Jew, you know, but even not religious, it's not that, right? It's very different, and therefore we cannot behave like we see that, and we're not gonna get most of the time most of what we see. So one of the things we'll discuss obviously is the laws of Taharat HaMishpacha and the nida, and you know what we can do, because that's also part of getting ready for marriage and understanding the importance of intimacy, because a big percentage of relationship are not good because there's not enough sexual connection, not enough intimacy. And even in a Jewish community, it's really, there's not enough. You'll think, you know, okay, you know, you waited 20, 25 years, 30 years to get married. Now it's going to be maybe the first year after. Once you get married and you work and you have the children and you're both tired and you're both working and you're getting old and you're getting fatter and all that, you know, it's easier to just watch something that excites you. And you end up, a lot of people end up not even going to their wives because they watching something that gets them more excited, right? So it's a challenge. So we have to know that it is a challenge, and that when we get married, you don't need to have to wait for the children to have a filter on your phone or your computer. If you know you have tendency to do that, you don't need to wait till you have kids. You should do it already when you get married. Or get help, get you know, find a social worker, like people who are, you know, therapists who deal with that, because actually there's a great guy. His name is Eli Nash. He was a From guy. I think he was Hasidish. I forgot. He was abused as a kid, and then he went out in public. He went to a TED talk and said, "I'm a porn addict," and he started teaching about it. And he's very famous and very good. Rabbi, actually, YY Jacobson had a whole thing with him. and he gives a lot of great tools for anybody who's struggling with that. It's worth dealing with it, not just forgetting about it. Now, it's true, every man is going to be confronted with that. We all have a Yetzer Hara. We're not angels, and even angels, the fallen angels, they got seduced by the like we learn in Bereshit and Noach, the fallen angels, they got seduced by the women and sin. So even angels, they fall prey to the thing. So we are definitely not angels. Well, technically we're higher than angels, but it's still a great challenge. So and obviously the parents' relationships, the way we experience our parents, and we're going to speak more about that later, so I'm not going to speak too much about it now. But if your parents are married or divorced or fighting a lot or not, all this is going to affect obviously our behavior and how we're going to relate to our spouse. And then if you have kids or not, the more if you have kids, you have less chance to get divorced, or at least it might delay it, but you'll think twice. So it's solely consolidated the couple, your finances and addiction, mental illness, all that stuff. So those are the main ones. Lack of communication are in the top 10. So this we're going to discuss, communication skills, how to speak. I sometimes say, like, why can't we just be nice? What do you want, my love? Yes. So if you speak like that, sometimes it's like, what's wrong with you? Why are you talking like that? But if you start from the beginning by being a gentleman, it's when we date at the beginning, like, we like, oh, so you're dating and you are being a gentleman, you're holding the door, you bring 2 glasses, when you go to the buy something for food, you think of, oh, maybe she wants something. Do you want something from like, wow, like, whew. And then we get engaged and married. And then a few weeks later, it's like, he used to hold the door for me. He used to call me. He used to do that. He's like, what happened? Right? Because yes, actually, we put our best game to seduce the girl. But the truth is that best game, that in a way is the real good part of you, right? But we become lazy. We become, well, it's true. If you do something all the time, like so nicely, it loses the romance. But the truth is, no, she will be very appreciative, and you don't have to be, even if you lose the romance and all that, it's good. It's a good habit, and that's the good way to treat a woman, because a woman is a bas melech. If you want to be king, you need to have a queen. So if you treat her like a queen, she will treat you like a king. Otherwise, it's she'll become a witch and she'll treat you like a sorcerer, Voldemort. All mess.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Of course.
So I was just wondering, do you think it's better for, let's say, a person that struggles with going that extra mile, and that's just not naturally him? Do you think it's better that he puts on that front and tries to build a habit, let's say when they're dating, and then potentially loses that once he gets into marriage? Or is it better to show her who you truly are, and then she doesn't set false expectations?
That's a very good question. I'm glad you asked. I think it's better not to put a show, at least not to cover up everything. Don't be fake. Be more yourself. Obviously, push yourself to do certain things, but things you're never gonna do again. Don't do it, because it's I remember speaking to girls that were like, it's not the same guy. It's just not the same guy. I didn't marry that guy. That guy was like nice and helpful and supportive and it's I don't know who I married, right? So don't fake it. Be as much as yourself. You can do certain nice romantic things, but don't don't fake it. It's I think especially nowadays, don't fake it till you make it.
I agree. Yeah.
Eventually, with her you can say, you can work at it, but don't you can try that once you're married already. And then but don't do it before. Yeah, that's good question. Another thing, one top 10 is constant arguing. Okay, so this we said. Now, interestingly, and I mentioned it, weight gain. Right? It's like they say, it may be awfully superficial or unfair, but weight gain is one of the main reasons for divorce. Okay, speaking by non-Jews, I don't think by Jews so much, but it plays the way, especially like we were talking about porn before. If your mind, what excites you is only thin women or whatever, it's not, you're gonna have a blockage, right? You're gonna have a blockage. So that's the danger with all those movies and the porn industry. It's a fake reality, and your mind gets used to certain things. Now, issues with and it's important because when we become 50, 60, 70, a man as much as a woman are not going to be attractive physically anymore. That means that true love is not going to be based on the physical. True excitement even is going to be an excitement that comes from something deeper than the physical that I see, right? So this will speak more in depth later on, but to understand that it's sometimes say, yeah, I'm dating her, I'm attracted, but I'm not attracted enough. So when she's going to be 80 years old, you're not going to be attracted enough to, you think she's going to be attracted to you, nah, it's, so we got to be realistic also. And lack of intimacy, we mentioned, lack of equality, not being prepared for marriage. A surprising number of 75% of couples of all ages have blamed not being prepared for married life for the demise of their relationship. So here we go. We won't enter into those statistics, Baruch Hashem. And that's it. Oh, right. So one myth to take out, and that's what here it says from November 2022, a study that say that incompatibility is the leading cause for divorce in the US, according to the Institute of Divorce Financial Analysts. The number one reason for divorce in America is basic incompatibility. Now, this absurd. It's like, yeah, men and women is not so compatible. Men and men, women and women, they understand each other better. That's more compatible. It's the same thing that when people tell me, oh, I'm a Scorpio, she's Aries, or she's a Leo. No, we're not compatible. No. We believe there's such a thing called astrology, but Ein Mazal Israel, meaning you can transcend all those incompatibilities. When a man and a woman can always, if it's the right, obviously, shidduch, become one, even if they're too extreme. I always give the example of myself and my wife. We're two extreme opposites, and even on the element level, I'm fire, she's water. I'm like Sagittarius, she's Scorpio. Doesn't fit so well. There's a lot of things. I'm dark skin, she's white skin. I'm Ashkenaz, she's more Sephardi. All the stuff all the extreme, but somehow a magical miracle happened. When it's not a miracle, it's just hard work. But we know that we don't rely on those things, because to say that it's incompatible, it's only when there's really big red flags. But just being different, we are different enough just by being men and women. Okay, so we kind of done with the statistic. We're just going to conclude because already, but I thought it was very important to discuss that because it's really understanding how the world functions and the main problems in the world. The thing that I would like to just mention is okay, so I wanted to give the Jewish view. Like Dr. Schechter lists the 10 factors leading to divorce in the Orthodox Jewish community, okay, to see a little bit the difference. They include verbal and emotional abuse, like we say, demeaning or feelings put down, communication problem, we said, unmet emotional needs, we discussed, sexual issues, mental illness, religious differences. That's we didn't discuss, but that's something we're going to discuss also. If she's more religious, if you're less religious, okay, what's safe or not. Undisclosed information. So sometimes the shadchanit or it's not done properly. They hide you things, and that's not. You can't marry someone where you don't know a certain minimum amount. Financial difficulties, that's typical, and different life goals. Okay, so not this, but the main thing we see, it's those things are main things are similar. The question is how to mitigate each of these factors to prevent divorce. Obviously, some are not correctable, but many are. And problems with communication and unmet emotional needs are the two main factors. So, okay, that's according to Dr. Schechter in the Orthodox community. Problems with communication and unmet emotional needs. Okay, so that means being really there for the spouse. So I would just like to finish with just the idea that we need to, as individuals, try to find someone. Ideally, in my opinion, is a rabbi who is, also a social worker or marriage coach, or it doesn't matter. But one needs to have his rabbi or a therapist or a mentor or mashpia if you're Lubavitch or whatever, but someone that is really here to help us, to not even just to help us, to discuss. Because sometimes there are things we think are not normal, but they're normal, and sometimes there are things that are not normal and are normal, right? So we need to be able to see that we all struggle, we all have a lot of work to do, and we can have someone who can guide us and give us information. It is ideal. There are a lot of rabbis are not qualified. Rabbi Twersky said, you need more, unless you're on a level. But for me, I went to college and spend a lot of years doing, marriage coach therapy and all that, and understanding how it works. That's why I felt comfortable to even share certain things. But it requires real work and guidance. So God willing, we'll next time we're ready to jump into the meat that was just the appetizers, and God willing, we'll continue next time.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for joining. We'll see you next week.
Have a great night.
Bye. You too. Bye.